Picture it, way before cities, borders, crowns, or even a single human footprint, just raw, unshaped space and a whole lot of silence. Genesis kicks off right there, with this big, cinematic, here's how it all began kind of vibe. And honestly, it doesn't just tell one origin story, it stacks them: creation, humanity, the first wrong turn, and the start of God's long, unfolding relationship with people that eventually leads to Israel, from nothing much to everything. So, in the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. At first, the world's basically a blank canvas, formless, empty, wrapped in darkness. But then, as the story goes, God's Spirit is hovering over the waters, like something's about to happen. And then it does. God speaks, and light breaks in. Just like that, darkness doesn't get the final word. Next thing you know, waters are pushed apart, land shows up, and plants start carpeting the ground. The sky gets its lights, the sun, moon, and stars, set in place like signposts for days and seasons. Then, animals fill everything: fish in the sea, birds in the air, creatures all over the land. In other words, the world goes from empty and quiet to busy and bursting. Humanity enters the scene, then everything changes. Finally, God makes human beings in his image. Adam comes first, formed from dust. Talk about humble beginnings. Then Eve is made as his companion because, well, it isn't good for the man to be alone. They're placed in the Garden of Eden, and for a while it's all smooth sailing. Harmony, purpose, closeness with God, the whole deal. But here comes the hitch. A serpent shows up and starts talking, nudging Eve toward the one thing God said not to do: eating fruit from the forbidden tree. Eve takes it, Adam joins in, and the moment they disobey, everything shifts. Shame creeps in, fear tags along, and the easy relationship with God cracks. Being expelled from Eden, they're pushed out into a world where life is harder. Pain, toil, conflict, and death become part of the human package. The first family, the first murder. Outside the garden, Adam and Eve begin a family. Their sons Cain and Abel bring offerings to God. Abel's is favored, and Cain, already simmering, boils over. Jealousy gets the best of him, and he kills his brother. It's the first recorded human-on-human violence, and it's brutal. God confronts Cain, but even then, there's this strange mix of justice and mercy. Cain faces consequences, yet God also marks him for protection, so he won't be hunted down. It's messy, it's human, and it sets a pattern. Genesis doesn't shy away from people break things, and God keeps showing up anyway, when the world fills up and goes sideways. As generations roll on, humanity spreads across the earth. But along with population comes corruption. Violence becomes common. The story paints a picture of a world gone off the rails, and God decides to judge it with a flood. Still, one man stands out: Noah. God tells Noah to build an ark, huge, basically a floating lifeboat for his family and animals. Noah obeys, no small thing, considering how ridiculous that probably sounded. Then the rain comes down, the waters rise up, and the flood wipes out nearly everything. Months later, the waters finally retreat. Noah and his family step out into a washed, clean world, and God makes a covenant. Never again will he destroy the earth by flood. The rainbow becomes the sign, like heaven's reminder written across the sky. And yet, let's not kid ourselves, the flood didn't erase the human heart's tendency to wander. Babel. Let's make a name for ourselves. People multiply again and settle together. Then comes this classic human move. They decide to build a city and a tower reaching to the heavens. The point isn't architecture, it's ego. They want to make a name for themselves, to stay united on their own terms, apart from God's purposes. So God intervenes, not by smashing the tower with lightning, but by confusing their languages. Suddenly, nobody's on the same page. Cooperation collapses. The people scatter across the earth, and the story offers an explanation for all the different nations and tongues. And just like that, Genesis hits a turning point. Humanity spreads out, fractured and complicated, setting the stage for what comes next, where God starts focusing in on one family and one promise, inch by inch, covenant by covenant. That's Genesis so far. Big beginnings, bigger heartbreak, and a thread of grace running through it all, even when people keep tripping over the same old temptations. From this point on, the story zooms in. Instead of talking about everybody everywhere, it settles on one family, one line of people God plans to use to bless the whole world. And right in the center of it all is a man named Abram, later renamed Abraham, a call to pack up and go. Out of the blue, God tells Abraham to leave home, his country, his relatives, his comfort zone, and head to a land he's never seen. No map, no detailed itinerary, just a promise. And not just any promise either. God basically says, trust me and I'll make something huge out of your life. Abraham's descendants will become a great nation. They'll be given a land of their own. But here's the big headline. Through Abraham's family, all nations on earth will be blessed. In other words, this isn't only about one household getting lucky, it's about the whole world getting helped. So Abraham goes. And honestly, that's the first lesson. Faith often starts with moving your feet before you've got all the answers. The awkward problem, no kids. But then reality hits. Abraham and his wife Sarah are old, like, we should be grandparents by now, old, and they've got no children. Years crawl by, nothing happens, and you can almost hear the sigh in the silence. Okay, God, any time now. Abraham's faith isn't some smooth, non-stop climb upward. Sometimes he trusts like a champ, other times he wobbles and wanders. And who wouldn't? Waiting can mess with you. It can make you start doing mental math, replaying conversations, questioning what you heard and thinking, did I misunderstand this whole thing? Still, God doesn't drop the promise. A miracle baby shows up. Then, finally, Sarah gives birth to a son, Isaac. Not a symbolic spiritual child, not a metaphor, not a consolation prize, a real baby. And because it's so late and so unlikely, Isaac's birth feels like a punchline to a long, tense story. The promise actually came through. God wasn't kidding. The test nobody wants. Just when it seems like everything's settled, Genesis throws in one of its most intense moments. God tells Abraham to offer Isaac as a sacrifice. It's the kind of command that makes you stop reading and go, wait, what? Because Isaac isn't just a beloved child, he's the promised child, the whole future. So this request doesn't merely test Abraham's emotions, it tests the promise itself. Abraham moves forward anyway. He obeys, step by heavy step, and at the very last moment, God stops him and provides a substitute sacrifice. It's a story that sticks with people because it's loaded. Trust, obedience, fear, and then, out of nowhere, provision. Like God will not ask for faith and then leave you empty-handed. Isaac's family and a tale of two brothers. Isaac grows up, marries Rebekah, and they have twins, Esau and Jacob. And these two couldn't be more different if they tried. Esau is the outdoorsy, rough and ready type. Jacob is sharper, quieter, more strategic, some would say crafty. And through a messy chain of choices, including deception and a whole lot of family drama, Jacob ends up with both Esau's birthright and their father's blessing. Predictably, Esau is furious. The kind of furious that makes Jacob do what people do when things get dangerous. He runs, a dream in the middle of nowhere. While Jacob's on the road, worn out and unsure of what comes next, he has a dream. A stairway reaching from earth to heaven, angels going up and down, and God speaking over him. And the message is familiar. God reaffirms the same covenant promises first given to Abraham: land, descendants, blessing. Basically, yes, even now, yes, even with you. It's a turning point because Jacob isn't exactly a clean-cut hero at this stage. Yet the promise keeps moving forward, not because Jacob's perfect, but because God's committed. From Jacob to Israel. Jacob eventually marries and builds a large family. 12 sons who will become the ancestors of the 12 tribes of Israel. But Jacob's life is still tangled with conflict, rivalry, and consequences from earlier choices. Over time, though, he changes. Not all at once, more like slowly, painfully, and with a lot of wrestling. In fact, one night he literally wrestles through a mysterious encounter, and afterward he receives a new name, Israel. It's more than a label. It's like the story is saying, this man has been reshaped. And from then on, that name doesn't just belong to him. It becomes the identity of his descendants and the nation they'll form. Joseph, the favorite, the dreamer, the target. Out of Jacob's 12 sons, Joseph stands out. Jacob favors him openly, and let's be real, that kind of favoritism is like tossing a match into dry grass. Joseph's brothers feel it, and it burns. Then Joseph starts sharing his dreams that suggest his family will someday bow down to him. Whether Joseph is naive, bragging, or just telling the truth as he sees it, it doesn't matter. His brothers hear one thing: he thinks he's better than us. Jealousy turns ugly fast. Before long, the brothers sell Joseph into slavery and stage a cover-up, telling their father he's been killed by a wild animal. And just like that, the story takes another sharp turn. The son in the pit, the brothers with a secret, the father drowning in grief, and somewhere in the background, the question hanging in the air: how can blessing possibly come out of this mess? Joseph's story in Genesis is one of those roller coaster tales where you keep thinking, surely it can't get worse. And then, well, it does. And then, just when it seems like everything's finished, God turns the whole thing on its head in a way nobody could have predicted, from the pit to a powerful house. So Joseph gets taken to Egypt, far from home, far from his father, and honestly it looks like his life's been shoved off course for good. He ends up in the household of a powerful Egyptian official, and here's the wild part: Joseph doesn't crumble. He works hard, stays steady, and before long he's trusted with real responsibility. It's the kind of bloom where you're planted moment people talk about, except his planting came through betrayal and human trafficking. Not exactly ideal, but just as Joseph's rising, just as things start to look almost normal, the floor drops out again. He's falsely accused, framed really, and thrown into prison. No fair trial, no second chance, no let's hear his side. Just like that, he goes from running a household to sitting behind bars, still faithful even behind bars. Now, plenty of folks would have turned bitter right there. Who wouldn't? But Joseph somehow keeps his integrity. He doesn't do the whole "fine, I'm done with God" thing. In prison of all places, he continues to serve and to help. And wouldn't you know it, his gift makes room for him. Joseph can interpret dreams, not in a parlor trick way, but in a God gives insight way. That gift starts getting noticed when two of Pharaoh's officials have disturbing dreams. Joseph explains them, and sure enough, things happen exactly as he said. At first, it doesn't seem to matter. He's still stuck, still waiting, still forgotten. But then, finally, Pharaoh himself has dreams that bother him so much he can't shake them. None of the usual experts can help. And that's when somebody remembers Joseph. Joseph before Pharaoh, the turning point. Dragged out of prison and cleaned up, Joseph stands before the most powerful man in Egypt. Picture the moment. One day he's a prisoner, the next he's face to face with Pharaoh. Talk about whiplash. Pharaoh's dreams point to 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph explains the meaning plainly, and here's the key. He doesn't stop at interpretation. He offers wisdom, real, practical advice. Store grain during the good years. Prepare. Plan ahead. Don't waste the blessing. Pharaoh listens, and instead of saying thanks, now back to jail, he does something shocking. He elevates Joseph to one of the highest positions in the kingdom. Joseph, once sold off and silenced, is now given authority, resources and responsibility to oversee the plan. Just like that, the prison doors don't just open. The whole future changes. The famine comes, and so do the brothers. Then, exactly as predicted, the famine hits. People everywhere run out of food, and where do they go? Egypt. Because Egypt prepared, and among the crowds coming to buy grain are Joseph's brothers. Here's where Genesis gets especially gripping, because it's not just about survival anymore, it's about the past. Old wounds, old guilt, old choices that never really went away. Joseph recognizes them immediately. They don't recognize him at all. He's dressed like an Egyptian leader now, speaking through interpreters, holding power they can't even imagine. To them, he's just the official they need to survive. To Joseph, they're the people who sold him and walked away, testing truth and the moment of revelation. Joseph doesn't rush into revenge, and he doesn't rush into hugs either. Instead, he tests them, not because he's playing games, but because he needs to know, have they changed? Are they still the same jealous, callous men who could toss a brother into the pit and sleep at night? As the pressure mounts, something different shows up in them: remorse, concern, even willingness to sacrifice for one another. Eventually, Joseph can't hold it in anymore. The moment comes, emotional and intense, and he reveals who he is. And his brothers? They're terrified. Of course they are. In their minds, this is payback time. The past has finally caught up, and now the brother they wronged has the power to crush them. But Joseph doesn't do that. Forgiveness that rewrites the story. Instead, Joseph forgives them. He doesn't pretend what they did was okay. He doesn't call evil no big deal. But he does something deeper. He sees God's hand even in the wreckage. They meant harm, no question. But God used those events for good, to preserve many lives during the famine. It's one of the clearest pictures in Genesis of divine grace working through human failure. People make wicked choices, and yet God isn't outmaneuvered. He's still weaving redemption through it all. Joseph tells them, in effect, "You tried to destroy me, but God used it to save us." That's not denial, that's faith. A family reunited in a foreign land. With reconciliation on the table, Jacob and the whole family relocate to Egypt. The broken pieces come back together. There's food, safety, and a place to live. And perhaps most importantly, there's reunion, a family pulled back from the edge of collapse. As Genesis nears its end, Jacob blesses his sons and reflects on God's faithfulness through his long, complicated life. It's not a tidy story. It's not the kind where everybody gets what they deserve. It's messy, emotional, and surprisingly hopeful. After Jacob dies, Joseph's brothers panic all over again, worried Joseph might change his mind now that their father's gone. But Joseph reassures them. He's forgiven them. He won't retaliate. The past doesn't get to rule the future, the ending that's not really an ending. Near the end of his own life, Joseph looks beyond Egypt. He speaks with confidence that God will bring his descendants out of that land someday and return them to the place promised to Abraham. Even with comfort and success around him, Joseph keeps one eye on the promise. And that's how Genesis ends, not with a neat conclusion, but with anticipation. It starts in a garden and ends with a family in a foreign land, waiting for God's promises to unfold, waiting for redemption to keep moving forward. The themes Genesis introduces don't fade out when the book ends. They echo through the rest of Scripture. Creation and fall, covenant and faith, blessing and redemption, human failure and divine grace. From Adam and Eve to Noah, from Abraham to Isaac, Jacob and Joseph, Genesis lays the foundation for everything that follows. In other words, Genesis doesn't close the story, it sets the stage. And honestly, after a journey like that, you can't help but lean in and wonder what God's going to do next.